entrepreneurs with smaller support networks have higher levels of stress, depression, and anxiety. So, this is why it is so important to have a community that you can rely on. I am Gloria Grace Rand, founder of the Love Method and author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, Live, Love, Engage: How to Stop Doubting Yourself and Start Being Yourself. In this podcast, we share practical advice from a spiritual perspective on how to live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically, so you can create a life and business with more impact, influence, and income. Welcome to Live, Love, Engage. Namaste. Have you ever felt like you were drowning in self-doubt only to be lifted by unexpected hands? Well, stay tuned to discover how a room full of fellow entrepreneurs became my lifeline, transforming not just my business, but my entire sense of self. But before we get there, I want to welcome those of you who are new to Live, Love, Engage. I am Grace Rand, and I help female entrepreneurs attract more clients through the power of SEO, which actually stands for spiritually engaging others. So let's get into this, because I know I'm sure, if you've been an entrepreneur for any length of time, you have had self-doubt come up. You may have even felt isolated. In fact, there's a famous quote that says, it's lonely at the top. And yeah, it can be lonely on the way there too, actually, as well, especially when you're maybe if you're just starting out as a solo entrepreneur. Maybe you're a service provider, for instance. And so typically, when you start your business, it's just you in that business. You don't have a team yet until you build up, enough of a clientele where you can start hiring other people. And even if you do have a team, if you are the owner of a business, it still can be, as they say, lonely at the top, because your employees don't necessarily understand the same challenges that you have as a business owner. And in fact, studies have revealed that this can really be harmful. Entrepreneurs experience higher levels of depression, 30%, anxiety orders, 27%, compared to non-entrepreneurs. And Gallup did a survey and found that entrepreneurs are 30% more likely to experience high levels of stress compared to non-entrepreneurs as well. So, and here's the kicker. This was the one I really found interesting, is that the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, and that's here in the United States, found that entrepreneurs with smaller support networks have higher levels of stress, depression, and anxiety. So this is why it is so important to have a community that you can rely on, and that community can take the form of lots of different ways. I mean, it could be a networking group that you belong to. It could be a mastermind that you belong to. It could be even sometimes it could be just some type of other personal support group. Because again, it's about having somebody else to talk with and to be able to bounce ideas off of, and to do things like that, to be able to feel like you're not alone. Frankly, that's what it is. It really comes down to, it's to feel like you're not alone. And I will tell you, I want to share a little bit about my experience. So when I alluded to at the beginning of today's episode, I attended a business retreat over the weekend, and this was the second time I had attended it, so I knew actually some of the people that were there, but there were also some new people as well, so I got to make some new connections. And part of what we were going to be going through in this retreat, number one, was to create a marketing plan for your business or for a specific part of your business. And so I had already talked with the leader of the retreat a few days earlier, or actually, I guess a week before. And so I had decided that I was going to be promoting a course that I want to offer to teach the love method. And so that was my idea. And so a couple people had gotten into the love seat, and she calls them love seats instead of hot seats, which I love. Me, the love method. Okay, I love that. I think it's perfect. And then I think this was on the second day. Yeah, so it was on the second day, and so I'd heard helping out some people going through it, and for whatever reason, I was having a conversation. Oh wait, I remember what sparked this. I had gone onto Facebook in the interim and noticed that some coach was promoting something called the Love Now method, and that sort of hit me in my heart a little bit, because it's like, oh crap, that's awfully similar to my love method that I wrote about in my book, Live, Love, Engage. And I, then looked at her Facebook page, and I noticed that she had, I guess, earlier incarnations had actually called it the love method, and got me thinking, well, maybe she saw me. I don't know, and decided to change it. And I looked at what her acronym stood for, and one thing that I felt okay about was the fact that I liked mine better. Hey, it's true. I liked mine better. And at the same time, it still brought up I started feeling really, I started doubting myself. I was going to say I started feeling unclear, but yes, that's true. I started feeling unclear, started feeling this self-doubt coming up, and, and feeling that somebody else is getting out there with something that's so similar to mine, and why am I not out there promoting it? And all of this stuff is going through my mind right now. And I will say the other wonderful thing about this retreat is that 𝙨𝙚𝙡𝙛-𝙙𝙤𝙪, who runs it, I'm giving her an amazing shout out right now, because look her up, find her online. She's on social media. Check her out. She held such a wonderful container for us, because during this retreat, people, were emotional. We were being vulnerable. There were tears flowing. In fact, on the first day, we went through a powerful meditation that really set the stage for that, where we were envisioning, if we only had 1 year to live, what would we be doing with our life, with our business? So that kind of set the stage for things. So anyway, it's getting time where I'm going to need to decide to be on this love seat, and I'm just sitting on the couch crying. I'm just crying, and so I said, well, yes, I want to be on the love seat, but I'm like, I'm just all. I started sitting there, and I was just starting to go in and just feeling really stressed out. And then 𝙨𝙚 did something wonderful. She said, you know what? She gathered everybody around, and there were several healers in this group as well. And they said, let's put some Reiki on you, Gloria. You need some, she refers to me as Gloria. So let's put some Reiki on me. And that helped. I was able to kind of calm down, and to then be open to receive feedback and suggestions and encouragement from this wonderful group of people who have all experienced self-doubt, because they were all entrepreneurs. So we've all been there. And it was so wonderful to be able to have someone hold that space for you, to hold space for me, to allow me to have my meltdown and to help me to move forward, to help me to really get past it, and to start just, once I was able to calm down, when you're all stressed, your brain is in that fight or flight mode. And once I was able to calm down and then tap back into my heart and start listening and really saying that, oh yeah, I know. Because what was coming up for me again was this I've been having this for the last several years, this back and forth between my original business was SEO copywriting, helping you get found on Google. And then I've been wanting to do this deeper coaching work and helping people, specifically women, to love themselves, to not have all of this self-doubt, to be more comfortable. And so, this was again part of my that was going on in my brain. And so I was able to calm down again. And if I mentioned at the beginning, this insight I had a few weeks ago was that, yes, I help clients to have copy that is search engine optimized, help you get found on Google. But really, in order to do that first, you've got to be more in line with yourself so that then you can spiritually engage others. So eventually I'm going to start doing more marketing and talking about that and start incorporating that into my website and things like that. But just being able to say that today on this podcast was huge for me, because that's what has happened is I've had this real shift thanks to the retreat. Also thanks to another program I was doing on the side, an online program with something called the Stargate community. They were doing a real accelerated ascension program. So I was also doing a lot of energy work on myself over this past week, in fact. So I think that was also weighing in here as well. And it was all good. I do feel that the universe wanted me to do both of these things because I needed to be able to really bring them together, to bring together my analytical side with my intuitive side, and to then be able to go out and share that with the world. So some of the important lessons that I learned that I want to share with you today is that it's so important, especially if it's so important for entrepreneurs, no matter what. Like I said at the beginning, whether you've got a team or you're still a solo business owner, you need to have a community that you can rely on, a community that you can go to for help. Because I know I've been talking a mile a minute here today, so I'm going to pause for a second. It's so important to ask for help. It's so important to have a safe space where you can be vulnerable and you can ask for help. A lot of us, no matter where you are in life, I have most likely experienced something in your life that has perhaps made you unwilling, possibly, or has caused you, I don't want to say made, but has caused you perhaps to shut down a little bit and to be wary about asking for help. Maybe you've even been burned when you've asked for help and it didn't feel good. So you're like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to soldier on by myself and I'm going to figure things out on my own. I would caution you to not do that. So again, you've got to find some type of community. And as I mentioned at the beginning, whether it could be a networking group, it could be someone has a mastermind program. Even if you just reach out to even a counselor at first for help, but then find that community. And if you can't find one, start your own. Okay. Start your own. That's what I wound up doing, even though I do belong to a couple other wonderful communities, including the Business Acceleration Network, which is where this retreat came from. I belong to the Stargate community, which is where I get a lot of my really good spiritual self side of me filled. And when I moved to the city I'm living in now, I was a member of a group that held in-person meetings once a quarter. And, coming out of COVID, I really wanted that connection with people again, that in-person connection. Online is great. I love absolutely connecting with people through Zoom. It's wonderful. It has helped me tremendously. And there's just something about that being in person thing that it really makes a difference. So they stopped having these in-person uh, meetings, and they said they're moving everything online, and I'm like, well, I, that's not good enough for me. I want to be able to connect with. I have some wonderful connections with other business owners in this area, and I said, you know what? I'm going to start my own thing. And so I came up with the Soulful Women's Network, and I created this group. We have a free Facebook group, but then also if you want to become a paid member, you can have that as well. And we meet once a quarter. I'm sorry, we meet in person once a quarter, and then we meet online on Zoom the other 2 months of the quarter. So this month we're meeting actually tomorrow as I'm recording this, and we're going to be meeting in person. And then in October, we'll be back online again. So it's been so wonderful because what we do in those meetings is we mastermind. We talk about, whoever has an issue or a challenge in their business or even in their personal life. We've had some of that come up as well, and we'll talk about it and we brainstorm, and we're not afraid to be vulnerable. And if we need to cry a little bit, I know one time we had a meeting a couple months back where a couple of the folks had lost either family members or friends. They'd passed on, and so they were feeling quite emotional. Oh yeah, it was back in May, as a matter of fact. I remember because that was the anniversary of my brother's death. So then I started getting emotional as well. But I love that I have this container that I've been able to create for these wonderful women to join. So you need to find the right container for you. Some place where people are going to honor you and allow you to. I'm going to take one quick break because I've got this tickle in my throat. So hang on one quick second. I'm just going to mute myself for a second. Hang on. There we go. Sorry about that. I had a cough and I didn't want it getting on the recording. Anyway, yeah, so have some place that's going to do that for you. I think it's so important. Um, and to be open to, I think the other thing is to be open to receive. What part of the love method that I teach, the O in love, because love is an acronym, stands for open your heart to receive. And and that's where it is so healthy for us to do that, to be able to be open. Because I know sometimes our minds don't want to hear it, or we can stress ourselves out. But if we can just lean in and open our heart, it can work miracles. So, which leads me to one thing which I didn't type up here, but I just want to let you know that my book, Live, Love, Engage, talks about the love method. And if you would like to get a free sort of a cheat sheet version of that, I always have this at the end of the podcast, but for those of you on YouTube, you don't hear that. So I'm going to invite you to go to liveloveengage.gift, GIFT, instead of .com, it's .gift. And you can, when you go there, you'll be able to download. It's a PDF that kind of walks you through, like I said, a little mini version of the love method, so you can get to understand it. And of course, I invite you to check back into, I've done episodes about the love method, so on the podcast you can go back and find those by going to liveloveengagepodcast.com as well. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else I want to chat with you about right now? I think that's mostly it. What I would love to share with you right now, two things. Actually, I'm going to do this first again. I'm going to do a little plug here, and I'm going to mention again that Live, Love, Engage has been nominated for a Women in Podcasting Awards in the Mindset category. So I would greatly appreciate your vote. If you can go to womeninpodcasting.net/awards, and I'll have all of this in the show notes, so don't worry about it. But if you can go there, and I would love your vote. The voting is open until October 1st, which is only a couple weeks away. I can't believe we're halfway through September already, but there you go. Yeah, so that's it. So now Now, I love to share this with you, my last gift for you today. And I'm going to set the intention today that I'm going to share with you in a moment is something that I call light language, which is it's a language that I am able to share that is through song and through the spoken word. And it's a language that we spoke before we came into this human body. So it's not necessarily something that your brain will be able to translate, although some have. Some I have had one client who was able to do it. But it's something that will speak to your heart, and it's a very healing modality. And I'm going to set the intention today that if perhaps you are somewhere out there who has been plagued by self-doubt, or you're not clear about maybe your next steps in your life or your business, that listening to this message today will help you with that, will help to clear away whatever blocks are preventing you from doing that. And so what I would invite you to do, if you are listening to this somewhere where you're also operating machinery, as they say, driving a car or something, I would encourage you to pause this and come back to it later, where you can just sit down and listen to this. Headphones would be great, in fact, and just, again, set the intention that the message that you're going to receive, whatever you need, is basically going to be something that is for your soul's highest interest. And I always say also for the highest interest of all concerned. So I invite you, you can close your eyes if you like, and just let whatever comes through just wash over you. So I'm going to take a breath for a moment, set that intention for myself, for you. Kahua no ke ha soku ako yodoru akayo tuku eke soku ya no kahu eka kahue sana ya para kura koya eko tua so Anokuyako Ahue kahue koyo Osu shahua Ohua kayo tuke Oshono kayoku Okayo tuhi Ose. I hope you received that with the love that was intended for you. And you can go to my website. You can learn more about light language. If you're wanting to know more about that, please, I encourage you to go to gloriarand.com, and you'll be able to get information about that. And I'll have links in the show notes as well about that. Yeah, also. So thank you for listening today. Thank you for joining me, for watching, whether you're watching on YouTube. I hope if you are not subscribed yet that you will subscribe to the podcast. And yeah, until next time, I encourage you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.